Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next episode in this series. And today we're going to be going over some nitty-gritty foundational stuff, including, what you can expect, the agency roadmap as a whole, what you can expect in the first, 1 to 2 weeks, your first month, 90 days, things like that. We're going to be going over your domain and your back-end systems that you need to be able to set up. And of course, the 3 building blocks to actually building and running a successful, sustainable agency. Things that people overlook a lot of the time. I know that I did. And a lot of things that, you may be good at right now in terms of having 1 or 2 of those roadblocks in place, but that third roadblock is just maybe what's holding you back from actually scaling or building a sustainable, foundationally strong business. Okay, so let's dive right in. So what you can expect from your first 3 months, all right? Lots of excitement and hunger for more. You'll be working day and night. Time will seem as though it is flying by and you genuinely enjoy every single bit of the work. It's not like you show up to your laptop or your computer and you feel like, I got to get started on this work. No, you genuinely enjoy it. All right. You quickly realize getting clients is tougher than you thought. This is because most of you may have never had to actually go out there and fight to get business. You only know employment. So again, if you're someone that's starting your first business through this agency model, you're building your agency, things like that, it is a challenge. You're building a business. It is a real legitimate business that is, again, it's going to help you, create sustainability in your life. So you're going to have to fight tooth and nail. All right. You focus on a lot of tasks that are completely unnecessary. Follow this program. You'll save tons of time with your client acquisition and things that, again, I wasted a ton of time on myself. That's why I wrote this down. I thought when I started my agency, having all these PDFs, these ebooks, these things that I could send to clients, I thought it was all useful and it wasn't. So the best recommendation I can make is just follow along through this program step by step. Don't waste your time on building out these documents or these PDFs or things like that. The only stuff that you should ever be focusing on is literally like anything that you're going to be directly going over in your meetings. Okay. But again, we'll dive into that later on. So what can you be doing right now? You're brand new, starting an agency. So weeks 1 and weeks 2. All right. So what you want to do is focus on getting your agency domain and email set up. You want to focus on getting your client acquisition softwares, your service delivery softwares, and your client retention systems set up. All right. So let's give you some examples. So client acquisition softwares. All right. So when you're going through this program, you're going to find that we give you a ton of acquisition methods. All right. All these methods are real. They're legitimate. They work still. It's your approach that needs to be tweaked and focused on. But again, we get into that into later modules. All right. But in terms of client acquisition softwares, you want to make sure that you have obviously your social media set up, you have your Facebook business manager set up, your TikTok business manager set up, your email softwares, things like that. Okay. And again, we get into what those softwares and backend systems are. So don't need to stress about it. Your service delivery software. So a good example of this is if you are a email agency, making sure that you have, your Klaviyo set up or your MailChimp set up, whatever programs that you use to basically manage your service delivery. If you're in paid ads, making sure that you have your business manager set up in terms of all of the platforms that you are going to be serving your clients with. All right. And then client retention systems, typically that has to do a lot with your Google Drive, making sure that you can actually save assets, things like Slack, which is, your client communication. There's a lot of different things in terms of reporting. If you are in paid ads or in e-commerce, using something like Triple Whale, if you're in info products, using something like Hyros, things like that. Okay. So just making sure that weeks 1 and weeks 2, you may not be reaching out to clients quite yet, but you're just making sure that the foundation is set up so that your back end and all the softwares that you need are ready to go so that you could literally onboard a new client tomorrow and you'll be good. Okay. So domain and backend systems. All right. So let's get you access obviously to your Google domain. All right. So your Google domain is going to be the name of your agency. So mine, it's Pinnacle Media. So you're going to want to make sure that you have, your Pinnacle Media or your whatever your domain name is set up. All right. Now, when I set up my agency, I made a huge mistake. My domain ends in .agency. Now, it's not a big deal. It still works. And it's not a big deal. However, if I could go back, I would always just try to aim for like the .com. All right. It's just a little bit better. It looks a little bit cleaner. So again, I highly recommend that you look for that .com version of your agency domain. All right. Now, Google email users do cost about $7 per user. So your domain, I believe at the time of recording this, it's about $12 per year to actually like re-register your domain. And it can differ depending on the domain you're trying to get. But then per email user, so for your contractors or your employees that you add into your agency, it's about $7 per extra user. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Now, social media account setup. So you're going to want to set up your social media accounts. All right. Your organic and your outbound strategies are all going to be utilized with social media. So you want to have your Facebook profile set up, which is a personal account, your Instagram profile set up, and your TikTok personal profile account set up. All right. I make this very clear. This is not a page. All right. So you don't want to have like your agency TikTok page or your agency Instagram page. You can have those things, but for the most part, it's going to be you reaching out to those clients, your personal profiles. Okay. So just make sure your personal profiles are set up. Make sure your Facebook Business Manager is set up. This is going to be useful for when we're doing the inbound paid strategy. Okay. So you need everything from your business page, your ad account, and your pixel. Get those things set up. They're super, super easy. There's going to be more information on how to actually set up all those things in below in the plug and plays that we utilize. And again, same thing for your TikTok Business Manager. Okay. So we are big believers in Facebook, and which also includes Instagram. So Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. That's going to be the best 3 things that you can use for your inbound strategy to actually get new leads, booking in appointments with you. Okay. So service delivery considerations. This will differ again from agency to agency, but identify what softwares you need in order to deliver the service that you're trying to provide to your clients. So example of this is, get your Facebook BM, your Google Ads account, your TikTok BM set up so that you can begin getting access to your client accounts. Another example, you need Photoshop or Canva because you manage social media clients. You manage their business pages. You have to create content for them. You have to post it, stuff like that. Okay. Next is getting a project management software and CRM, and then getting your Google Drive to manage your client assets. Some of you might use Dropbox. Some of you might use Google Drive. I would recommend just using Google Drive because you're already going to have a Google domain. So it's just a little bit easier. It's one less software to get access to, and it's covered inside of your Google Assets. All right. And again, it's super easy because you can start upgrading your storage if you need to. And yeah, like you'll have tons of storage, so you'll be good. Client retention considerations. All right. So download Slack or Discord to actually manage your client communication. I would just recommend using Slack. Everyone uses Slack. Every company uses Slack. So if you tell them like, hey, we bring our clients on in Slack, they'll know what you're talking about. Typeform, Google Form, or Jotform. These are really good to manage client feedback. And then, other things as well too. They're really good retention softwares because at the end of the month, you can send sort of like feedback surveys to help your agency improve, or quarterly surveys. Those are usually really good. But the other blessing of having like Typeform, Google Form, and all these things is if you're bringing on new talent into your agency, you can actually have these forms built and embedded into your landing pages and things like that. So it just helps a lot. And then of course, Excel, Google Sheets, Data Studio, Canva, Triple Whale, Hyros, you name it. That's going to help you manage your client reporting. Doesn't matter what kind of agency you run, you should have some sort of reporting set up for your agency so that you can actually show your clients the results you're bringing them. It's very, very key because a lot of the times people order an agency out of, A, they want a good ROI, and B, for convenience. They don't want to be handling certain things, but they still want to feel like they have a good stronghold on their agency as a whole. So you want to make sure that they know what's going on. So your client reporting, it's super, super important. Okay. Now, your action steps. Okay. So get your email domain set up your Google settings as best as possible. I would just highly recommend just like spending, a few hours just clicking on every single one of those settings tabs and just make sure that all the information is set up properly. Your billing information is set up well, your address, your, like literally everything. Okay. So just set up your Google domain and your Google workspace fully. Set up your agency social media accounts. Okay. So it's very separate. So you obviously, like for myself, I have like my Dominic Yundlow Instagram profile, my Instagram page, my LinkedIn, my TikTok, all of that stuff, and like my YouTube. But then on the other side is make sure you set up your agency profiles for, the things that you're going to be utilizing at first. So like your Instagram, your Facebook page, your Instagram page. I don't think it's quite necessary that you have like a separate YouTube channel unless like you want to go really hard with content. I just don't find it that necessary. YouTube is better for personal branding. And then the other thing as well too is LinkedIn. It's really easy. Set it up on LinkedIn so then that way when you are setting up your LinkedIn profile, you can at least attach like your agency logo and the name into like your work experience. So it just looks a little bit more professional. Okay. So just make sure you spend the next day just setting up your profiles, your back end, getting your agency email domain. That's going to be the most important so that you can actually start to send emails and start to connect with potential prospects. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the agency roadmap episode that we just covered. And I will see you guys in the next module. All right. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.